What if the person you think you are is just a fraction of who you truly are? What if years of conditioning and surviving in a challenging world have left you clinging to strategies and beliefs that mask your truest nature? I'm Catherine Duca, psychotherapist and self-esteem coach, and you're listening to Who Do You Think You Are? A show that looks beneath our psychological masks and uncovers our profoundly messy, beautiful, brilliant, tender-hearted selves. Join me as we go in search of the hidden power of our true selves. I'm so glad you're here. And you absolutely know that's the truth. I am so glad you're here. Welcome. Welcome to Who Do You Think You Are? A podcast dedicated to helping you learn how to have the highest regard for yourself, how to live from a place of genuine self-respect and self-love, and how to make yourself a priority in your own life. Because when we have self-respect and self-love, we do make ourselves a priority. Meet me here each week for curated tips and strategies designed to help you drop your psychological mask, connect with your truest essence, and simply live life more easily. Why? Because we know that when we approach life in this way, we naturally have more room, more generosity, and more love for others. And when have we needed it more? Well, friends, I have to say that I'm coming to you a bit jet lagged, hence maybe a little tongue-tied this evening. But I will do my best to put myself on East Coast time. I am so excited. This is part 2 of a 2-part conversation with someone who is very close to my heart, a psychotherapist who has a gift for healing, a gift for being present with her clients, someone who means the world to me, my life partner, Dawn Freed. Dawn, hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Yeah. Are you as jet lagged as I am?
Most definitely.
Yeah. So listeners, we just got back from 2 weeks in Italy, and we are on Italian time, which means our punctuality is shot, and we have to nap in the middle of the day. You get the idea. So we're going to carry on and try to be as coherent as we can, right?
Yes, we will. We'll do our very, very best.
All right. So this is part 2 of a conversation, and we didn't really start out intending this to be 2 parts. We thought maybe we'd get together again, but after our last conversation, I heard from a number of listeners who had very interesting and what I thought were compelling questions. So I said, well, let's do a part 2, and let's see if we can take a deeper dive into these questions. What do you think?
I'm ready.
Okay. So would you believe the question that got asked the most, and I hear this from time to time, and I wonder if you do as well. What is it like living and working together? Working in the same profession, working in the same apartment now that we work from home, right? You're in one room, I'm in the other. And what is it like sharing this space, this workspace and life space together? Someone even asked, would you recommend it? Would you recommend it? So I know what I think, but I'm very interested to hear what you think, Dawn.
Okay. Well,
first of all, how long have we been doing this together?
Well, I'm not sure. What time period are we referring to? The very start of our relationship as therapists?
So let's say decades of working in the same office suite, right?
Yes, right.
But then, of course, since COVID,
working from home,
working together, living together, breathing together, eating together. So for people who might be interested in what that's like for us, maybe we can start there.
Okay. It's an interesting situation for sure. And anyone who asks me if I recommend it, I always say that there are some caveats to it working out well. So let me start there. The relationship between the two people, you and I, is one aspect of it. The space that you're in is another. And learning how to establish boundaries. I know that that's an maybe overused word in many respects, but it is very much about establishing boundaries of personal energy, personal space, and all the rest.
Sure, sure. One of the things that I really appreciate about us, to be honest, is we let one another know when we need a little more space,
Yes.
right? Depending on the day, if we have, depending on how busy we are and how intense our day is, we let each other know, hey, I don't feel very talkative right now
Right.
because I'm a bit talked out, right?
Yes.
And we've learned to kind of navigate that with one another. And
Operative word is learned. We learned as we went along.
it was a learning curve, and we learned by overstepping that boundary, right?
Yes.
For example, I might be, tell me if this at all rings a bell. I might be chatty. I don't say chatty Cathy, but yeah, and you might be in a headspace where you're still with your day or you're decompressing, and you say to me, well, now you just go like this, now you just, and
We have just, yes, hand signals, right?
hand signals, right? Like the Yankees or something, right? And that gives me a feeling of security because I've come to understand what your needs are, and I think you've come to understand mine in that way, right? So we ask each other for what we need.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
One of the things that surprises clients when they ask, and I tell them, is that we don't really talk about our cases, do we?
No.
Right? I think people have preconceived ideas of first, and we'll get into this, of what they think a therapist's life is like, both inner and outer life. And I think when they hear that, that my life partner is also a therapist and she's in the next room, I think they think we talk about work a lot. But what may surprise people is we really don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, there are times when we might look for some exchange purposefully, intentionally to get some supervision, you might say. But that is intentional, and we will present it as such to one another, not just have casual conversation.
Right. Because when we talk about supervision, I think you would agree that any therapist worth her salt constantly, discusses her cases with another professional. And of course, this is all done confidentially. No one's identity is ever revealed. But we engage in peer supervision to this day, even though we've been doing this for 1, 2, 3, 4 decades. Right. And so we have become our own, and we have our own mini peer supervision. But whenever we talk about a case, we literally make an appointment to do so, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So Dawn, I might say on a Friday, listen, at some point over the weekend, maybe when we're having coffee, can we have 10 minutes together? I'm having a challenge with a client and I could use your input.
Right. So that's a very specific kind of situation.
Yeah. And that brings to mind actually another question that a listener wrote in with, and I hear this all the time as well. And so I think there's overlap here, which is, how do you talk to people all day long about their challenges, their struggles, their traumas, and not take it on. Not take it on. Or do you take it on? You know, how many times have you heard, it must be so difficult or so depressing?
So depressing.
Right? Isn't that the word? So
Mhm.
depressing to hear your clients, you know, difficulties all day long. And I know what that brings up in me. What does it bring up in you, and how do you respond to that?
Well, I want to say at the outset that I don't want to in any way impart the message that I'm not affected or not touched by what any of my clients might go through. I am. But after many years of being a therapist, I have learned how to be connected and be present and caring without owning what my clients are going through. So I am affected. And sometimes I may be affected to a degree that I then have to do something for myself to manage what I'm feeling. And it begins with looking at what has been stirred up for me. So it's the self-awareness, this checking in, and then figuring out what is it I need to do right now to manage what I'm feeling about a client situation, so that I can remain present to my own life and present to all the other clients I have.
Mm. I think you used talk about the operative word, which is own. I think the challenge for every therapist is to kind of find that balance between being as present as possible to the client, while at the same time being present to ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
being in our own autonomy, if you will. So one of the things I learned from a mentor very early in my training was that we're not here to fix anybody. We're not here to fix anybody. We're not here to rescue anyone. So when I reflect upon that, that's very helpful to me because it helps me remember my place. I'm here as a witness. I'm here as someone who will accompany the client on his or her, their own journey. I'm not here to do anything to them.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, and I think this is what it boils down to for me, tell me how it is for you. I'm here to show them and to help them tap into their own strengths and their own resilience and their own capacity to live in their own skin with authenticity
Mm-hmm.
and genuineness. So that's a whole other energetic vibe, isn't it? It's
It
not,
is.
not
It
saving
is.
anybody.
Right. It's not about saving anyone, that's for sure. I do have to say for myself, that doesn't necessarily mean that I don't get affected by the fact that people coming to me for guidance, for support, that sometimes there's a lot of sadness one has to hold that I might have to, in a sense, hold as I'm
Yes.
listening and navigating, the terrain with a client. Um, so, but I'm good with that in terms of I want my heart to be open and receptive to where someone is at, and allow that to guide me in helping them. So I am affected. That said, and I think I've learned this over the many decades. I've gotten better at it over the many decades. I don't necessarily then take it on and internalize the sadness for me to then carry around. I don't know if I'm being clear about what I'm trying to say.
Well, I think you're being clear because I mean, I know what you mean. But it is hard to articulate, isn't it? Because we are very touched by our clients' experience. We're moved by what they go through. I know I can feel heavy at times when someone tells me their life, and and they bring me into their inner dialogue, and whether it's self-doubt or self-sabotage or, oh gosh, I did it again. I did the same thing again. I'm so frustrated with myself. Or, as we touched on in the last episode, I feel hopeless. Clients tell us they feel hopeless.
Yes.
So I know that I feel very moved by that. And I too like that my heart is open. We're not there dispassionately or
Right.
robotically or on a higher level. It's not about that at all,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a difference between feeling touched and moved versus feeling responsible
Mm-hmm.
for someone's journey.
Yes, I completely agree with that. But also, as I'm listening to you, what came to my mind is the term that we're familiar with, compassion fatigue. And it doesn't mean you have to experience it, but it is something that, as someone in a helping profession,